Lisa Left Eye Lopes went to Honduras searching for peace, but the camera followed her all the way to the road where she never came back. On April 25, 2002, the woman the world knew as the wild, fearless, unpredictable spirit of TLC died in a car crash at only 30 years old. She was far away from Atlanta, far away from award shows, music videos, red carpets, and the bright chaos of fame. She had gone to Honduras for something quieter, something more spiritual, something that looked like healing. But that afternoon, on a road surrounded by green hills and tropical stillness, everything ended. Lisa was driving an SUV with several passengers inside when the vehicle swerved, lost control, and rolled over. Others survived. Lisa did not. And what made the tragedy even more haunting was the fact that she had been filming parts of this journey. The woman who had spent years living under the camera's eye, as a performer, a celebrity, a scandal, a symbol, was now followed by the camera into the final chapter of her life. The news hit the music world like a cold wave. This was not just any artist. This was Left Eye, the rapper with the sharp verse, the strange humor, the painted eye, the restless energy that made TLC feel dangerous and alive. She had stood inside some of the biggest songs of the 1990s, including Waterfalls, a song that warned people not to chase dangerous paths too far. And now, the woman who helped deliver that warning was gone because of a road she never made it home from. That contrast made the story feel almost unbearable. Lisa Lopes did not die after fading away from public memory. She died while people were still trying to understand her talent, her chaos, her pain, her contradictions, her search for meaning. In a single crash, the voice that once cut through TLC's smooth harmonies with fire and attitude was silenced forever. The shock of Lisa's death was not only about the accident itself, it was about what she represented. In TLC, Lisa Left Eye Lopes was never just the rapper standing between T-Boz and Chili. She was the spark, the unpredictable one. The member who made the group feel rebellious, funny, spiritual, childish, dangerous, and brilliant all at once. When TLC appeared on screen, Lisa's presence pulled the eye immediately. She wore the condom over her glasses. She painted under one eye. She delivered verses like little explosions inside R&B songs that might have been smoother without her, but never as unforgettable. To fans, she was freedom with no filter. But that same fire also made her life feel unstable. The world knew her not only for music, but for headlines, fights, the house fire scandal, emotional outbursts, interviews that revealed both confidence and confusion, and a constant sense that Lisa was battling something inside herself that fame could not calm. That was why Honduras mattered. It was supposed to be a place of retreat, a place where she could step away from the noise and search for balance. She was not there to perform for the industry. She was there trying to understand herself, and that is what makes her death so painful in hindsight. Lisa was not running toward more fame in her final days. She was trying to find peace. The cameras captured parts of that search, and after she died, those images became impossible to watch without a shadow over them. Every smile, every spiritual conversation, every quiet moment in Honduras now feels like it is moving toward a road the viewer cannot stop her from reaching. That is where this story begins, not with TLC's first hit, not with the colorful outfits, not with the fame, not with the scandals, but with a crash in Honduras that turned a search for healing into one of music's most haunting goodbyes. Lisa Left Eye Lopes went looking for herself, and the world lost her before she could come back. Before she became Left Eye, before TLC, before the condom on the glasses, before the painted mark under her eye, before the world learned to expect chaos and brilliance from her in the same breath, she was Lisa Nicole Lopes, a girl with too much energy for an ordinary room. She was born in Philadelphia, but her story never felt like it belonged to one place only. From early on, Lisa seemed wired differently, sharp, playful, restless, creative, and impossible to ignore. She loved music, performance, and attention, but not in a simple way. It was not only about wanting fame, it was about wanting to be seen clearly, without being softened or controlled. Even as a young girl, there was a spark in her that felt both beautiful and dangerous, the kind of spark that could light up a stage, but also burn too hot if there was nowhere safe for it to go. That is what made Lisa different before the world ever knew her name. She was not built to blend in. She was the kind of person who turned emotion into personality, who made style feel like language, who carried humor, anger, vulnerability, and mischief all at once. Long before she became a star, Lisa already had the raw material of one: a voice, an attitude, a need to express herself, and a refusal to disappear quietly into the background. But that same intensity also meant that her life would rarely be calm. The girl before Left Eye was already full of motion, searching for identity, searching for control, searching for a place where her fire would be understood instead of feared. That place, for a while, became Atlanta. When Lisa moved closer to the music world and eventually became part of TLC with Tion T-Boz Watkins and Razonda Chili Thomas, something clicked. The group did not feel like a traditional girl group. They were colorful, funny, streetwise, bold, and strange in a way that made them impossible to copy. T-Boz had the low, cool voice. Chili had the smooth beauty and softness. Lisa brought the explosion. She was the one who made the group feel unpredictable. Her rap verses cut through the songs like sparks. Her fashion choices became statements. The condom on her glasses was not just a gimmick. It was a symbol of TLC's fearless attitude towards sex, youth, and self-protection. Her nickname, Left Eye, became more than a name. It became a character, a mask, and maybe also a warning. In the early days of TLC, Lisa seemed to be exactly where she was meant to be, inside a group that could handle her color, humor, and chaos. But even then, you could feel the contradiction forming. The industry loved what made Lisa different, but difference is not the same as safety. TLC gave her a platform, but it also placed her inside a machine that would demand image, discipline, compromise, and constant visibility. For a woman as restless as Lisa, fame would become both a stage and a cage. And as TLC began to rise, the world was about to discover that Left Eye was not just the group's wild card. She was the flame that made everything brighter, and the flame that could never be easily contained. When TLC exploded into the 1990s, they did not look or sound like anyone else. They were not polished in the traditional girl group way. They were colorful, funny, street, futuristic, playful, and sharp. Their music carried R&B smoothness, hip-hop attitude, pop hooks, and social messages that felt bold for the time. And in the middle of that storm was Lisa Left Eye Lopes, the member who made TLC feel unpredictable. With "Oh" on the TLC tip, the group arrived with a visual identity that was impossible to ignore. But it was CrazySexyCool that turned them into global superstars. Songs like Creep and Waterfalls became more than hits. They became cultural moments. Waterfalls especially gave TLC a kind of emotional weight that separated them from other groups. It was a song about danger, choices, consequences, and lives moving toward endings they could not see. Lisa's rap verse inside that song felt like a warning delivered with rhythm and clarity. She was not just filling space between choruses. She was giving the song its edge, its conscience, and its personality. Then came fan mail and No Scrubs, proving that TLC could evolve with the end of the decade and still dominate radio, MTV, and pop culture. At their peak, TLC were everywhere. Award shows, magazine covers, music videos, red carpets, and television screens around the world. But Left Eye was always the spark that made the image feel alive. She could be playful, spiritual, sarcastic, intense, and strange in the same appearance. Her presence gave TLC a kind of electricity. T-Boz and Chili brought cool and smoothness, but Lisa brought fire. And the world loved that fire because it made her unforgettable. But fire does not only illuminate, it can also destroy. As TLC rose higher, Lisa's life became more chaotic in public view. The biggest scandal came in 1994 when she set fire to the mansion of her boyfriend, NFL player Andre Rison, after a conflict between them. The incident became one of the most notorious celebrity scandals of the decade, and from that moment, Lisa's public image changed. She was no longer only the funny, creative, rebellious member of TLC. She became attached to headlines about rage, instability, and danger. But reducing her to that single scandal would be too easy. Lisa was more complicated than one night, one fire, or one mugshot. She was a woman carrying intense emotion in an industry that rewarded her wildness when it sold records, then punished it when it became inconvenient. Behind the hits, TLC also dealt with business struggles, bankruptcy, tension, and the pressure of being young women inside a machine that demanded constant performance. Lisa often seemed like the member most likely to challenge that machine, even when her methods were messy or self-destructive. She wanted independence. She wanted spiritual meaning. She wanted control over her own identity. And as the years passed, her search became more intense. The same artist who once felt like pure pop energy began looking for something deeper, quieter, and more healing. That is what eventually led her toward Honduras, toward retreat, cleansing, reflection, and escape from the noise. In hindsight, the tragedy is that Lisa seemed to be trying to step away from the fire before it consumed her. She was not only falling apart, she was also trying to rebuild. But the world would remember her contradictions forever. The star and the scandal, the visionary and the chaos, the woman who warned others not to chase waterfalls while still chasing a kind of peace she never fully reached. When Lisa Lopes was brought home, the grief became larger than a headline. It became a public farewell. On May 2, 2002, thousands of people gathered at New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Georgia to say goodbye to the woman who had made TLC brighter, stranger, funnier, and more dangerous than almost any group of their era. The images from that day carried a heavy kind of silence. Fans standing outside the church, shirts printed with Lisa's face, flowers in their hands, tears on young faces that had grown up watching her on MTV. This was not only the funeral of a singer, it was the funeral of a personality that had never known how to be small. Lisa had been the spark in TLC, the rap verse, the sideways joke, the strange outfit, the spiritual question, the sudden emotional outburst, the unpredictable choice. And now, that spark was gone. The woman who had once bounced through videos with wild eyes and bright energy was being mourned by fans who could barely understand how someone so alive had disappeared so suddenly. T-Boz and Chili were left to grieve not only a bandmate, but a sister in a story that had been built from youth, fame, conflict, love, and survival. The funeral made everything real in a way the news could not. The crash in Honduras had felt distant, almost impossible to process. But the church, the flowers, the mourners, the family, the crowd outside, those images turned the shock into finality. Lisa Lopes had gone searching for peace in another country, but she returned home in grief. And for the fans who came to say goodbye, the question was not only how she died, it was how someone so full of color could leave the world feeling so suddenly dark. But Lisa's story did not end at the funeral. In many ways, her death made people look at her life differently. The documentary footage from Honduras became one of the most haunting parts of her legacy, because it showed a woman trying to understand herself before the world lost her. She was not only the wild member of TLC, she was not only the scandal, she was not only the rapper in Waterfalls or the face beside T-Boz and Chili in the videos that defined the 1990s. She was a woman searching for meaning, healing, forgiveness, and something deeper than fame. That is why her legacy remains so powerful. Lisa Lopes was messy, brilliant, contradictory, spiritual, funny, wounded, and fearless. She made TLC more than smooth harmonies and hit songs. She gave the group danger, humor, personality, and a kind of emotional unpredictability that could not be manufactured. After her death, Waterfalls sounded different. Its warning felt heavier. Its message about choices, danger, and consequences seemed to echo back toward Lisa herself, even though no song could have predicted the road in Honduras. And that is the final ache of her story. Lisa went away to find peace, but the world remembers her through motion. Dancing, rapping, laughing, arguing, praying, searching. She was never still until the end. Maybe that is why her absence feels so loud. Left Eye was not just a name. It was a way of seeing the world differently, from an angle no one else in pop music could copy. The crash took her body. The funeral closed her life. But the eye she left open in the culture still watches from every TLC video, every verse, every fan memory, and every warning not to chase the thing that might destroy you.